So I did a poll of the community of what is the worst items in Don't Starve Together. I got lots of answers being low level clothing items like the Breezy Vest and the Summer Frest. And though I can see why people would pick these items, I feel their judgment is actually misplaced. Because although these items may not be that useful, and can get replaced very easily, they still have a reason to exist. Even though they're not the greatest at their job, they end up doing what they're meant to be used for. I think the true worst items are actually items that fail at what they're trying to even do. But I think I have found an item that exists in the game that I just don't even know what to use it for. This item I'm going to talk about is not only hard to obtain en masse, they can fail at what they are used for. This item being the seed shells that the player gets from seaweeds. The stats for this item is as follows. Does 23.8 damage in an AoE around 1 turf. The AoE splashes away from the landing site, almost like a small fan. Any small creature hit by this will be stunned for a short while. These creatures being birds, rabbits, and moles. Hitting them will cause them to be pick-upable, but also scare away any creatures that were not hit. For moles, they need to be above ground to be hit, and if they're underground, the shell will miss. I guess you could use these to quickly gather creatures for whatever reasons, or you could just use like a trap or a hammer and get the creatures normally. This is what I usually hear people say they use the seed shells for. I mean, yeah, they can be really great for farming these small creatures, or even like a puffin for the birdcage. In fact, this is probably one of the easiest ways to collect puffins if you're into that. However, that's really the only use for it though, because if you try to use this for a weapon for its AoE potential, you'll be sad of the results. You see, the seed shell has an AoE of slightly bigger than 1 turf. The AoE seems to go outward in the direction of where the seed shell is thrown, kind of like as if it still had momentum. So it's kind of like a fan splash. This 1 turf AoE sounds pretty decent, but it does not work that well in practice. The splash AoE actually sucks a bit because it only really works on tightly packed mobs, and it won't even hit some mobs next to ones that are getting hit or are too close to the player, so it's a really poorly designed AoE. Other than the AoE being bad, this item is a projectile with travel time, meaning that if your target so much as moves, you are missing. Which means to actually use this as a weapon, you have to throw the item in the area the enemy is going to be to actually hit them, especially if you're running away from the mob. If you don't try to time it and you're constantly running away, the mobs will just dodge it. Like, how can a weapon fail so much as to just miss? And even if you did hit the enemy, it takes 5 seed shells to kill a normal 100 HP enemy like a spider. Granted, you can kill more with the AoE, but that's still a lot needed considering you can only get 20 in a stack. I thought one saving grace for this would be that damage modifiers could save it, so that way you can do 6 times damage with 120 damage AoE, but it doesn't even work with it. A mighty Volt Goat Jelly Wolfgang does the same damage as Wendy with this item. That just kind of goes to show how this item is just a league of its own. Oh, and if you want to try to use this on shadows, it does not work. But that is all the stuff about the weapon. Now let's talk about how to obtain it. The seed shells are a drop from seaweeds out in the ocean. There are 3 types of seaweeds: pink, yellow, and white. Pink is normal, yellows are more aggressive, and white spawn more fish near them. They all drop 2 to 3 seed shells, with the yellow dropping 3 to 5. They also drop 3 barnacles and a sprout, so you can make your own seaweed farm anywhere there's sea stacks. Gotta be careful though, because trying to fight seaweeds normally during the day is just a death sentence. Attacking one causes nearby weeds to aggro, and they all do 68 damage and will also break your boat. So never try to fight seaweeds during the day unless you have a way to sleep them. You can go at them during the night though and fight them, as the other seaweeds will not aggro during the night. This is much better because you can actually stun lock the seaweeds before they attack you. So if you're going to farm up the barnacles and the seed shells, you should totally do night farming. Once you kill all the weeds in a biome, you'll end up with about 2 to 3 stacks of seed shells. If you're lucky, you will have more with yellow spawns. In addition, you can get sea sprouts to make the weeds wherever there are sea stacks. Granted, the weeds will only spawn back every full moon and only if a sea sprout is unharvested. So honestly, if you really try, you can amass a lot of seed shells. Maybe that's why they do this to balance them. But honestly though, they're just really weak on their own. They have a small stack, and they can just miss. They're really just so hard to use as a combat tool, so much so that they're more just for utility, for something that you can just do with traps. I kinda wish they upped the stack to about 40 though, because if you were to use these for AoE combat, the 20 seed shells run out so quickly and your enemies are still alive. Or maybe even fix up the way the AoE works, since it's kinda strange and it's not really consistent. Back when these items were introduced though, the seed shells used to do the same damage that the weeds did, being 68. They changed that pretty quickly though. I kinda wish they didn't. It was pretty unique and actually kinda hard to hit against most enemies at range, so it's not going to replace conventional weapons. I think Clay just saw this as an easy to get dark sword damage and believed that this was too strong. But honestly, it balances itself out on how hard it is to hit, since just holding F usually causes you to miss. But what do you guys think? Should seed shells be changed to make them more useful in combat? Leave your comments below, leave a like, and also subscribe for more content. Till next time, this has been Terra, and take care.